Salutations! I'm Nick Akins.
And I'm Elysia Ann Ponpon.
And this is Action News. On today's episode, our own David Lee Frost sat down with middle school dean of students, Dave Clausen.
Also, our lovable rascal Edgar Garcia is at it again with a new look in this week's Manabout Town.
Finally, our new education field reporter, Al Cleveland, interviewed Michelle Delperdang, our producer's sister. Yeah, that's a coincidence.
But first, let's give the floor to Nick for this week's national news.
President Obama declined to meet with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu during the UN General Assembly in late September. Netanyahu has reportedly been pushing for Mitt Romney to win the U.S. presidential election because of his more hawkish stance towards Iran. The Israeli leader doesn't feel President Obama has been aggressive enough to stop Iran from obtaining nuclear weapons. Netanyahu is more interested in solving this conflict through military intervention, while Obama still thinks that this conflict can be resolved diplomatically or through economic sanctions. On September 25th, President Obama addressed the UN and stated that time is not unlimited for Iran to stop its pursuit of nuclear weapons. He stated that a nuclear-armed Iran is not a viable option, and the U.S. will continue to pursue sanctions and other diplomatic means to solve this situation peacefully. Speaking of Iran, Iranian President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad addressed the UN and was quite vocal with his criticism of the U.S. and Israeli governments. More than a few statements from the U.S., including Newt Gingrich, walked out during the speech out of disgust. Ahmadinejad has repeatedly stated that Iran should have a right to nuclear weapons, and even countries that are nuclear armed are scared of the U.S. and Israel. Protesters gathered outside the UN to voice their concerns over the Iranian leader's comments and to demand a new Iranian election. On September 27th, the Israeli Prime Minister, Netanyahu, addressed the UN with his concern of the Iranian nuclear program. The Prime Minister stated a, quote, clear red line, end quote, must be drawn on Iran's enrichment of uranium. Netanyahu tried to drive home his point with a diagram. The chart was drawn in a crude shape of a bomb, showing 3 stages of the Iranian nuclear program. The Prime Minister used a red marker to draw a line that was just under the 3rd and final stage. Toward the end of his speech, Netanyahu partially addressed Ahmadinejad, saying that they would vow to remain in their homeland. U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton met with Netanyahu on September 27th in New York to quell any concerns he might have about Iran. President Obama also called Netanyahu on Friday, September 28th, to reiterate his stance that Iran should not have nuclear weapons. On October 3rd, President Obama and Governor Romney battled out in their first presidential debate. There were a lot of mixed opinions about the debate, and many people are still arguing about it. Some opinions were that Governor Romney was a bit too aggressive and that he was unfairly interrupting the president and the moderator, Jim Lear. However, others said that Romney was only wishing to state his opinions and make sure the facts were correct. Opinions on the president's performance was that he was very passive, and instead of confronting Romney on his accusations, he was willing to sit back and let Romney talk. Democrats wish to encourage the president to be more aggressive in the debates to come. Our brand new field anchor, Nick Akins, sat down with our own Mrs. Johnson to talk about some key points when it comes to debating.
Thank you, Nick. And let me say it's an honor to be working with you. We're here with local speech teacher, Mrs. Johnson. Question 1. What are some good skills to have if you're going into a debate?
First, you need to be able to research your topics. You need to be able to have a good opening statement. Obviously, you need a good stage presence. And you need to be calm and patient, especially when the person you're debating with can get aggressive. Being aggressive is not being a good debater.
Question 2. Which do you think is more important? Being able to sway the conversation to the points you want to talk about, or being able to talk about any points of conversation?
Okay, that's a hard topic. I think it's really important that you have to be able to do both. You have to be a studious listener, and you have to take your opponent's speech or his topic, and you have to be able to turn that in your favor, especially if it's politics or something that there's a pro and a con to. You have to be able to turn that in your favor if you're going to win the debate.
The third and final question, which do you think is more important? Opening statements or rebuttals?
I truly believe I judged before, and I believe it's the rebuttals more than the opening statement. If you can be a fast thinker and be able to come back to your opponent with a good, strong rebuttal, I'm going to score you higher.
Thank you, Mrs. Johnson. That was very informative. Now let's send it back to our devilishly handsome lead anchor, Nick Akins.
Thank you, Nick. You have a very bright future in this industry. The debate certainly is a hot topic, and as the presidential race heats up, we'll be sure to cover it with our continuing segment, Decision Fever 2012. Catch it.
This is your hometown. This is your hometown.
Thanks, Nick. Everybody enjoys the excitement of the 1 week students are allowed to dress crazy, creative, and eye-opening to other peers, teachers, and other staff members. Students, parents, and staff, and returning alumni all gathered to celebrate the victorious win against the Bennington Badgers 32-7. This year's theme was A Night Aglow. Also, with the outrageous theme, we had some pretty good theme days, such as What Not to Wear Day, Pick Your Age Day, Class Color Day, Superhero and Villain Day, and last but not least, Spirit Day. Adon Torres and Itzel Soto were voted Homecoming King and Queen. Whitney Kropp is a high school student at Ojimo from Michigan who was voted Homecoming Queen as a cruel prank. The prank backfired completely with a Facebook page that has more than 53,000 likes in support of the sophomore. She is 16 and was made fun of before the prank, but not to the point where she thought that being voted for homecoming was part of a cruel joke. After she was chosen, she was laughed at and pointed at in the halls. The male that was nominated Homecoming King declined the honor because he didn't want to be associated with Whitney, according to Detroit News. Her classmates didn't stop bullying her after the vote. They continued to do so on Facebook. Although Whitney has to deal with this, she has the support of so many people. And now for a special presentation from Action News. Bullying is a nationwide epidemic. We decided to do something about it. Here are 5 easy strategies to use if you're bullied or you see someone else being bullied.
What's up, small fry?
What did you just call me?
I just called you small fry because you're short.
Listen up, you tuna-faced sardine. I am not a small fry.
What's up, geek burger?
What's up, dork blaster?
Nerd herder? Get out of my face, poop face.
Bring it, snot
I'm
liquor.
gonna play around, I'm gonna beat you up.
Let's go.
Take us to the wrestling room.
3:30, let's go, come on.
That's what I call radical.
Yeah, totally.
Oh, what's the Losers Club up to? That's rude, dude.
You know, that's whack.
I'd invite you two to my daddy's ski party up in the hills this weekend. But you're losers.
You know, why do you always have to make fun of us? We're just high school students going to class. Lame.
Real lame, dude.
Connie, tell Jason to knock it off. He's always picking on us. Look at it.
Jason, again? You are such a jerk.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
You rock.
You're welcome.
Hey, Big Al, what are you doing?
Mr. Akins put me in charge of stopping bullying, so I'm on the lookout.
Do you really think the binoculars are necessary?
Look, I don't tell you how to be pretty, so don't tell me how to do my job.
Okay, well, I'm just saying you might be...
Wait! You hear me?
No.
Library.
Did you hear about that girl?
Yeah, who wore those nasty, like, shoes to homecoming?
Seriously, those things smelled so bad.
Yeah, it smelled like an old lady's gym sock.
Oh my gosh.
I heard you two talking. Knock it off.
Hey, midget, how's the weather down there?
Fine.
Hey, Labrador, I'm talking to you. Man, you are little.
Leave me alone. I'm just going to teach class.
Does a 12-year-old seriously teach class?
Not funny. Why don't you just be nice and leave me alone for once? For crying out loud, Brian.
I'm never nice.
I am a teacher, you know that, right?
I don't care. Get ready for a pounding.
Ryan, don't lay a finger on Mr. Schmidt. Put him down right now.
Yeah. Thanks again, Andrea.
Anytime, Mr. Schmidt.
Hi. This is District News. I'm Mr. Schmith.
I'm Joe McMahon.
And I'm Elysia.
I'm Edgar.
And I'm Scott.
We like to have fun at District News, and what you just watched was meant to be humorous. However, there's nothing humorous about the thousands of students each day who are afraid to go to school because of unnecessary harassment and bullying.
If you've ever been a victim of bullying, you know how emotionally painful it can be to experience. At District News, we decided to create 5 practical strategies you can use if you are being repeatedly taunted or teased.
Know the difference between bullying and teasing. If you can't tease someone without insulting them, don't do it. Also, don't assume when someone is trying to offend you. They may be trying to kid with you, and they might just be really bad at it.
If you have a problem with someone's words, try to handle it the appropriate way. You don't have to take the repeated insults, but you shouldn't have to resort to violence. You'll find that telling your adversary to go suck a rotten egg is more satisfying than punching them in the lower intestine.
If you don't feel like saying anything, tell an adult or teacher. It's their job to make sure the school is a safe place to learn, and they have to hold other students accountable. There's nothing cowardly about asking a teacher for help.
Keep your ears open and your eyes peeled. Bullying and constant harassment are things that can be easy to ignore, because no one wants to be a snitch. Be on the lookout for anything that seems suspicious and don't ignore it, which is easy to do.
Finally, call these bullies out. If you hear insults, taunting, or teasing in the hallway, don't let them get away with it. It is up to all of us to muster up the courage to stand up to these people. Peer pressure is often thought of as a negative concept, but it can also be productive. The greatest weapon we have to combat bullying is collectively holding these people accountable.
This week in our Spotlight segment, our own David Lee Frost will sit down with David Clausen, the Middle School Dean of Students.
School with Mr. Clausen, Dean of Students. Hi, Mr. Clausen.
Hi, David.
How long have you been an educator?
I have now been an educator. This is my 15th year. I started at the Boys and Girls Home Opportunity School. That was my first experience, education. Then I later moved to Wayne, Nebraska. I was the high school special education teacher. I later moved back into the Siouxland area again, and for 4 years I was the seventh grade resource teacher at this middle school. I went to GTL for 4 years and was the lead teacher, and now this is my second year as the Dean of Students at South Sioux City Middle School.
Mr. Clausen, could you tell me how long you've worked in South Sioux then?
Yes, this is my 10th year in South Sioux.
For those of us who don't know, can you describe your job as Dean of Students for us?
My job is very similar to an assistant principal. The reason they label it as Dean of Students is because a big part of the responsibility of my job position is the safety and climate and culture of our building. So 90% of discipline referrals that go to the office, I'm usually involved in that process with the kids.
How often do you have students in your office due to bullying, Mr. Clausen?
That's a good question. First I want to talk about bullying, conflict, and harassment. Bullying is when there's a consistent pattern of verbal abuse, physical abuse, or electronic abuse. Of course, by electronic, I'm talking about text messaging or Facebook. Conflict is when there's individuals that, for whatever they both know there's a problem and there's conflict there. Harassment would be when there is one individual that at one certain time is just verbally abusing or physical abuse or electronically doing something to one person. So as far as if you put them all three together, do I deal with that a lot? Yes. As far as bullying, not a lot in my office. On the other hand, I would say the student council has brought up in our building that this has been a concern. They brought that up last year, and they've also mentioned with me this year. And so what we've done is at the middle school is we put together a leadership group out of the student council. We have 4 8th graders, 2 6th graders, and 2 7th graders that are called the Rising Red. We're working with them about how do we prevent bullying in our school, and they have stated it is a problem in our school. Something that they've brought up, and I'm sure you're aware, is that the month of October is Bullying Awareness Month. And so what we're going to do starting tomorrow is the Rising Red, some of them are going to announce that we are going to have random acts of kindness days during Wednesdays during the month of October. And so they're going to give examples, and so it's the whole point is trying to get everybody to, instead of focusing on the negative behavior, what can we do that's positive?
What is the typical punishment for bullying?
Well, first off, we make sure that we contact the parents of the victim and also of the offender, that the one that's actually doing the bullying. Sometimes it may be just the point of that parent meeting and letting the student that's the offender know that, hey, this is bothering that other student. And a lot of times, and then it stops. But sometimes what we do, we have to take away privileges in our school. For example, if it's happening during recess or out during the hallways, we set up plans so that the offender isn't out there. We could get to the point that sometimes we involve the police, or the student can be placed in a special education program, or we also have a alternative middle school, which is a school within a school. So those are all options, but we start out obviously talking to both individuals and see if it can be stopped.
How often does the middle school administrators address bullying to the student body?
Well, we are doing that more often, more than ever before. And I talked a little bit about the Rising Red and I'm meeting with them. I've already met with them 3 times so far this school year. And so what we've done is we have bullying prevention posters in every classroom. We have a bullying prevention poster out in the hallway, in the lunchroom. During our advisory, we have an advisory class every day at the end of the day, and that's a time when kids connect with the teacher, talk about goals, both academic goals and social goals, and we also bring up topics such as bullying. So that is all part of our conversation in our curriculum at our school.
How would you compare the bullying situation here at the middle school compared to Gateway to Learning, where have you previously worked?
I would say it happens more frequently in my experience at the middle school, and I'll tell you why I think it does. At GTL, very small building, older kids. Also, there wasn't near as many kids per staff in the building. So we usually never had more than 40 students in that building. And usually a classroom had, if you looked at it, probably 10 students per 1 adult. And so you could typically see everything that was going on in that building. Usually what I dealt with more in GTL was conflicts between kids, or maybe one student harassing another student. And a lot of times the staff caught the bullying behavior before it got to the part where it was repeated often. In the middle school, it's different. We have between 800 to 1,000 kids at all times in our building. And so sometimes the hallways are crowded, and sometimes a bully can be sneaky. And they can do things that friends don't see or teachers don't see. And so sometimes that offender, that person that's doing the bullying, gets away with that behavior over time. And so what we need to do and do a better job.
In light of the recent movie Bully, which was based on bullying cases at Sioux City West and Sioux City East, has this film caused you to take more steps towards stopping bullying?
I would say it's more of a public, and more people are aware of the term. And sometimes I have to actually, when parents come in and they say my son or daughter's been bullied, and sometimes I find out that it's a conflict. They're fighting with another peer. Sometimes it's harassment, in which it's a one-time issue. And sometimes it is bullying. Have we made more steps? Absolutely. Meeting with the student council. I would say some of that media has had us, we've made more measures, more steps. We put in an advisory. We never did that before. So I would say in the end, yes, we have seen it as a problem in the past, and yes, we're starting to put in more measures because of everything that's happened.
All right. Finally, can you tell me some of the positive changes you've seen throughout your years here at South Sioux?
I can. First off, I want to let you know that I graduated from South Sioux City High School in 1990. So Went to Lewis and Clark, and then that's when Covington was the middle school, and this was the junior high, and then the high school. Some of the things I see, for example, I see more opportunities for kids than in the past. 7th and 8th grade, for example, when I went to school here, if you wanted to participate in a sport, your parents needed to pay money and you needed to be on a club, for example, football, or be in one of the junior leagues. We have actually all kinds of activities for 7th and 8th graders in our building. You can be in the play, you can participate in football, basketball, volleyball, track. So those are some differences than what I see before. Also, I see more advanced classes for kids in which they can take a class maybe in 7th grade, and maybe they can take an algebra class. I don't remember it being that way years ago. Finally, I see in the past you'd have two 7th grade history teachers. And I would see one teacher that the expectations were up here. The other teacher had expectations also, but maybe not as high as the other teacher. So sometimes maybe one class was a lot more difficult than the other class, but yet they were still worded the same as 7th grade world history. I'll just use that example. Now we see teachers that they have time to work together, and they can talk about what is important in their class and what are the expectations for their class, and they can go along with the standards and the state requirements. And so I see a more level playing field if you go to teacher A compared to teacher B compared to what it was like, say, 15, 20 years ago.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Clausen.
Thank you.
This is David Lee Frost reporting from the middle school.
Thanks, David. And if you guys are looking for a new look or to spice up your appearance, just head on to Hairdos with Edgar Garcia for his Manabout Town segment.
Hairdos. The place people go to do their hair. A magical place full of magical bottles. This is the only logical place for my transformation to occur. The smartest place for me to spend my money.
Hi, I'm Blue. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
And what's your name?
Edgar.
Edgar. Okay, nice to meet you.
What would you recommend for me to do today?
Well, would you like to do you have a new idea of how would you like, or any?
I would like to look like this.
Oh, that's the beaver.
That would be
sure.
possible. Maybe.
I can try that. Okay.
How long have you guys been in business?
I've been in business about 13 years. Yeah.
Where did you go to business school?
Here in Sioux City, used to call it Stewart School of Hairstyling.
In order for me to become beautiful, it would require my head to be placed in a head cooker. The long wait for my hair to be pretty would be worth it. Every drop of sweat that I excreted I would have to get over. My head would be sent to another dimension, a mind-blowing land that bends time and space, beyond our earthly realm. However, I began to doubt my mission. I began to look for inspiration. I was wondering if this trip would be worth it. I was wondering if I would look like the person I came to look like, if I would look anything like the idol of all the single ladies.
Do a lot of men come in here, or am I the first one ever?
No, we have a lot of male clients. We have men and women and children come here. We do all family here.
Have you seen that men are more high maintenance when they come in here?
Oh yes, they get the hair color, highlights, and even eyebrows done. I mean, the men's really well grooming this nowadays, and they like to take care of themselves. And I think having a good look will give you confidence, and you know. And
As my head was placed in the heavenly nectar, my mind and body were sent on a journey to Mount Olympus. My transformation nearly complete, I decided I might as well enjoy these final steps. The water was warm enough to bathe a baby while he's asleep, warm enough to melt a stick of butter to where he can still eat it without it tasting weird. As warm as the personality of my hairdresser. Once the shampoo and products are removed, I'll be one step closer to the goal of being attractive.
My transformation is almost complete.
My transformation is almost complete. Just a few more steps and our journey will be over. The shampoo is gone, along with all of my imperfections. Next, the water must be dried away by a blow dryer that can only be described as warm. And now the spray that will prepare my hair for the gel. the gel that will point my hair towards the sky. It is done. But if you suffer from not knowing where you're going to do your hair for homecoming or anything else, go to Hairdos.
It's perfect.
Thanks, Edgar. You look very dashing. Now let's go over to our education segment with Al Cleveland as she interviews Michelle Delperdin.
Hi, I'm Alex Cleveland. I'm the new education reporter for District News, and we are here at Covington Elementary with Michelle Delperdin, who is the school's guidance counselor. Thank you for being here today.
Thanks, Al.
Okay, first question. What do you do here and what are your responsibilities?
I'm the counselor here at Covington. I have multiple roles here as the counselor. Two of the main jobs I would say would be individual counseling and then small group counseling.
And what is small group counseling?
Small group counseling, I work with a small group of kids on basically anything that they need to be successful at school. Many of those times it takes the role of like the social skills training for kids. Some kids just never learned a certain skill, and so that's hurting their success at school. So we work on that together and then see if it, they can get back to class and do it.
It's understandable. How do you calm down a child with emotional issues?
Well, the first thing I think I would do, and most of our counselors do, is listen. They just need someone to listen to them. They need to know that someone's there on their side and there for just them. Listen and then also empathize with them. The best thing you can do is put yourself in this student's shoes. Most of us have been there at some time or another, or something like that. Just be there with them and know that you're listening. That's what they want.
Okay. How frequently do you see bullying here at Covington?
When it comes to the word bullying, I don't think that we see a great deal of actual bullying here at school. Bullying, if you define bullying, it's an imbalance of power. Someone's tall, someone's short, smaller. Someone's a fifth grader, someone's a first grader, things like that. But also, it has to do with repetitive. If someone's doing this to the child, and again and again, and if they're targeting that child, they're not being into a group. Yes, they're after that one, and there are times you do see that. A majority of the time, though, what it is just it's a conflict between kids, and what we need to do is we talk through it. We see, okay, what happened? Is this happening all the time? Are they doing it just to you? Because I just don't think it's always bullying per se. They just need other skills.
Yeah, that makes sense. And how often do you have to counsel a young person who's been bullied?
Well, if they've been bullied, and like I just defined, I always will work with them. That's just it's a given that I will then have them, the person that has bullied, the person that was bullied, both, just to work on what happened and how we can make it better.
Okay. Are you aware of the movie Bully?
Yes, I did see the movie Bully. Extremely sad movie. I think that's definitely the reason why bullying has come to the forefront. I think that movie started us really looking at it.
That's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I hear that you graduated from East High. Did you notice a lot of bullying there? And do you think it's bully is the actual representation of this area?
When I saw the movie, I saw the movie, and I know that some of it was right over in Sioux City. And when I thought of it, I thought, I didn't think we have it quite like that. I think they showed some of the absolute worst examples of it, which they're out there. But I don't see that as much here, especially down here in the elementary, world. But then again, I think we've done a lot since that movie came out too. We made a lot of changes.
What's a good way to handle bullying, especially for this age range of children?
Right now, what we're doing is we're going to focus the elementary. All the counselors are focusing on giving the kids strategies. There's a lot of different strategies. We give them a sheet of it. We practice. We do we call it lights, camera, action, where they get to role play.
Mm-hmm.
One of their favorites, and again, it's not the one they should use all the time, but one of their favorites is called Out Craze the Crazies. What that means is a student, comes up to them and says, I think you're ugly. the out crazy response would be something that's kind of off the wall, something totally out there. So the kid could look at them and say, I like bananas. You know, then that person that said that, they might be like, we kind of want to almost stop it. We want to completely stop
Just
the bullying
like
where you take them off
shut
guard
them.
and they're like, okay, that's enough for me. And they're like, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
But we're teaching them things to stop it, not to get mad, to stay calm, and then use a strategy.
Like, I know bullying like really hits home for most people. So how do you think a student's emotional state affects his or her learning?
I think a great deal. Whether it is being picked on or whether it's an issue at home, whatever it is, it's going to affect their learning because they're going to have a hard time coming to school focusing on division when other things in their life are not going the way they have planned or the way, you know, something's out of their control.
Mm-hmm. How important do you think counseling is to a student who needs help, especially in school?
I think it's vital. I know these kids, they need someone here to help them. They need to know someone's, again, on their side. Someone's here just to help them with that aspect of their life especially.
Mm-hmm. And what do you think a student should do if they think that they need counseling but they're too scared or too nervous to ask?
Well, I know here, again, in the elementary world, the counselors, we all really try to build a rapport with every single student. We build these relationships where the kids know from day one that we are here for them, that we want them to trust us, and we live that. We go out and we learn things about kids. We're there. We'll drop whatever we can drop to get to those kids so they know that we're here for them. And you know, it's kind of silly, but when kids leave Covington, I tell them, you can come back anytime. And I know the other counselors are the same way. Come back to us. We are here for you. I don't care if you're 35, you know.
Yeah.
If I'm still here, you can come back and talk to me.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's it for my questions. Thank you for having us today.
Thank you so much.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
And, yeah.
Thanks, Al. And now let's go to our Anchor's Choice video of the week.
That was so cute.
If I wasn't such a professional, I would probably be crying right now.
Well, I'm Elise Ann Ponpon. This is my last segment of the season. I will see you guys later.
Stay sharp, Sioux.